I would also want the media team to play just a few minutes interview of Müsā. Müsā is the chief of the terrorist army staff of Nigeria.
But from the operational point of view, can you tell us what is the major issue? The military is now so much involved in internal policing. It does look like you're being taken away from your primary assignment and you're doing secondary and leaving the primary. What would you say is your major problem military-wise?
Thank you very much. I'm really very happy to be here, and it's good to be with this forum today. Well, I think as Nigerians, first and foremost, we need to take ownership of what's going on in the country. And when I say ownership, it is not the time for us to start trading blames on who to do it. We are dealing with asymmetric warfare, which is a new kind of warfare. It's different from the conventional time, and that's what we want to make very clear. Conventional warfare is between country to country. Now, asymmetric warfare, you are dealing with non-state actors, people you don't know, people that are your own. I give you some examples. Sometimes when we go on cordon and search operations, the same village you get in, they hide the weapons, touch them, they don't have anything, and you proceed. And they dig up these weapons and fire you from the rear. It is difficult because you don't even know who is your enemy. Everybody is an enemy. There's no front. Everywhere, and is a front as long as much as possible.
And then, of course, I want you to also play the last one. And all I want to hear is when that question was asked, are you worried?
Yes. Are you worried? Because an operation, a special operation on the sit-at-home IPOP situation in the southeast.
Yes.
But some of the elements and the leaders of these groups are outside of the country.
Yes.
I want every Biafran, every person who is reasonable listening to this particular video today to pay attention. The question they asked was, are you worried? So, and if you listen very attentively, he responded, of course, I'm worried. Play it again.
Are you worried? Because an operation, a special operation, yes. Are you worried? Because an operation, a special operation.
The question they asked was, are you worried? So, and if you listen very attentively, he responded, of course, I'm worried. Those of you who did not give up when Mazi was kidnapped from Kenya in 2021, I congratulate you. Those who stood their ground to fight and trusted some of us, I congratulate you. I want you to understand that we have defeated Nigeria, and Nigeria can never rise again. Today is a very important day in our pursuit for our freedom. A very important summit took place, just concluded, the summit on peace in Ukraine. This summit on peace in Ukraine has just ended, and we took our time to watch many speeches, comments, opinions from world leaders. We've also took our time to analyze these speeches from different world leaders, including the speech made by the Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris. My fellow Biafrans, I would like us to watch few of these clips as on this rock I will build the altar of God.
Thank you, Mr. President. Now I'm pleased to hand over the floor to the Vice President of the United States of America, Kamala Harris.
Thank you. Thank you, President Ahmed and President Zelensky, for hosting the summit. It is my honor to be here with all of the leaders today. I first met President Zelensky in February of 2022, just 5 days before Russia invaded Ukraine. An outrageous attempt to subjugate a free people and an attempt to wipe a sovereign state off the map. On that same day, I addressed the Munich Security Conference and made clear that the United States of America is a steadfast supporter of the principles that people have a right to choose their own form of government. Nations have a right to choose their own alliances. There are inalienable rights governments must protect. The rule of law must be cherished. Sovereignty and territorial integrity of all states must be respected. And national borders should not be changed by force.
As you all have listened to the Vice President of the United States of America, I would also want the media team to share the screen and play a video from another prominent leader among those who heard very important speech at the just concluded summit.
International law and the UN Charter must be the backbone for just peace in Ukraine. No matter our continent, history, religion, or skin color, we all share the same guiding compass, and this is the UN Charter and its principles of sovereignty, territorial integrity, human dignity, and the right to self-defense. These principles are universal and we must uphold them. International law must be protected always and everywhere, without any ambiguity, in Ukraine, in the Middle East, and everywhere in the world. This is our global responsibility.
From the speech of the Vice President of the United States of America and the person that spoke on behalf of the American state, I have the following information to give to the Biafra people. I want you to understand that in Biafra, Africa died, and in Biafra, Africa will rise. This summit was directly and indirectly meant for Biafra people, as it reaffirms and justifies our right as a people and our actions towards the fight against Nigeria terrorist state aggression. Though it was called Ukraine Summit, but everything that was said was directly referring to your situation under Nigeria occupation, even though there is a connotation of Nigeria as a sovereign state, which was never discussed and negotiated with anyone, including the Biafra people. From the speeches and the clips you've just watched, the United Nations, the world leaders have indirectly validated Biafra Liberation Army in our quest to protect and preserve the life of the Biafra people. My fellow Biafrans, the world leaders made it very clear that self-preservation is a must. They use the word must, and it should be protected at all cost. At all cost, self-preservation must be protected at all costs. Today, Nigeria have tried everything to destroy and annihilate Biafra people, and we must protect and preserve ourselves at all costs. They were referring to Biafra, even though the summit was about Ukraine. My fellow Biafrans, the world leaders told us today, and they made it very clear in the summit, as they define the United Nations Charter in a very clear term through their submissions, confirming that Biafrans are acting within the legal framework of international law. My fellow Biafrans, I want the Nigeria terrorist state to listen to this. The world leaders has opened up that even they themselves have no right to violate or act outside the charter, which has been agreed by all nations who are party to it. But the same charter that they have agreed they will never violate, Nigeria has violated it with impunity. And Nigeria is a signatory to the same charter that they said can never be violated, by killing those who they claim to be their citizens in Biafra land, kidnapping Biafrans and enforcing their disappearances for many years, unchallenged, is a violation of this charter of the United Nations with impunity. And today we are resisting them. My fellow Biafrans, I want you to understand that the world leaders at this summit also made it very clear. They made us to understand that currently, in the case of Biafra, even though they are sitting idle and watching, it in fact violates the section of the United Nations Charter, which has assigned a responsibility to them to act in accordance to protect or the protection of human rights, especially the right of Biafrans within Nigeria state. They are waiting for this war that you listen to the Chief of Army Staff claiming that they are at war. Do you not understand that they are at war in Nigeria? Do you not understand that Biafra and Nigeria is already at war? When Müsā told you that they are going to retaliate, a lot of people are surprised. You will be asking yourself, retaliating with who? Against who? He has made it very clear that this is a war, a very difficult war, asymmetric war, which means they are at war with everybody in Biafra land because they don't know who the enemy is. You are waiting for these people to annihilate us before you support the liberation of Biafra? You may be a victim. This submission of Müsā is a clear declaration of war, and they call it asymmetric war, which means if anything happens, everybody becomes a target. And that's why they are using the word retaliation. And that's why they will never go after those who attack them. They attack innocent people because they are now officially in asymmetric war. My fellow Biafrans, the United Nations and the world leaders at this summit also reaffirmed that fight against Russia should be applied anywhere in the world where human rights has been violated. To this particular submission by the world leaders in this summit, we call on the United Nations, we call on the attention of the United Nations that Nigeria should not be exempted in this particular submission. Nigeria has violated all human rights laws. They have violated all international laws. All United Nations resolution on human rights has been violated by Nigeria. They have also violated with impunity the right to self-determination as enshrined in U.S. Constitution and United Nations Charter. My fellow Biafrans, the world leaders reminded us in the clips we watched. They reminded us, Biafrans, that we need to fund this self-defense against a dictator, tyranny, a terrorist state who have taken up the war against innocent women and children in Biafra land. They are telling you, you must fund your self-defense like never before. Nigeria has no rule of law. Their rule of law is gun and bullet. And we have come to resist it. A government that uses violence will be responded with the same and equal measure of violence in self-defense. That's why it is very important that every Biafran all over the world, anywhere you are, irrespective of whether you like Samanekpa or not, the defense and the liberation of Biafra, it is now or never.